Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Happy Friday, and I hope you're all gonna have a great weekend. So I wanted to go over some things that I had mentioned in my last video. I guess we'll call this, I don't even remember what I called it. I think it's, Face the Facts Friday. So basically, in this one, I'll talk about why I changed certain things about my diet. Originally, when I went into the doctor to have the initial consultation about, nutrition and all that stuff, I was not open to having a primarily plant-based diet. And I'm not considering myself anything at this point, not labeling myself as a primarily plant-based eater. I'm just going with the flow and doing what works for my body, and I urge you to do the same thing. There's no need to follow exactly what I'm doing. It's kind of like an experiment. You try something, you don't like it, you move on to something else, and so forth. Same thing with exercise, same thing with, no two people exercise the same, no two people eat the same. So please do what works for you and consult your physician before you start any program, just to make sure you're safe. So my physician told me just to cut out cheese altogether, and certain other foods that, were no-nos on that list that I went over previously. So with time, I slowly started, I had completely cut those things out, but with time, I started looking into the reasons why the foods that he does not want me to eat are recommended not to eat, and what health benefits am I getting by not eating those foods. So needless to say, the research was a little bit shocking, because you see how certain things are produced and what goes into the foods that we eat, especially in America, and it opens your eyes to a lot of things. So I watched certain documentaries, and of course, I take everything with a grain of salt, because I understand different documentaries have maybe a different agenda or whatever, but the research is overwhelming, and it's not just one documentary. It's documentaries, it's books, it's scientific studies done by doctors. In fact, I was watching it's a website called masteringdiabetes.org. I do not have diabetes, but the information on there was geared towards plant-based diets. So I decided to watch the webinar to see what it was, about. And basically all of these doctors, although they're treating different conditions and for different reasons recommending plant-based diet, all of them are recommending the same thing. And all of them are basically telling you not to eat the same thing. So in doing the research, for example, with cheese, I don't want to gross anyone out, really. If you're a cheese lover, I'm not judging you, because I was a former cheese lover, but the things that go into cheese are alarming. The hormones, honestly, it made me sick. Half the documentaries that I saw made me completely sick to my stomach, and made me feel better about completely not eating those products anymore. Yogurt, cheese, butter, pretty much any dairy, anything like that is absolutely a no-no. And then I slowly started cutting out things like red meat and cold cuts, and those went no problem. But then as the research went on, I've started to now completely steer clear of eggs and chicken and fish. But it is difficult, I will admit, because people around you, especially the ones that have seen you eat the way you eat for all these years, they become a little bit concerned, and they want to feed you certain things that they think are healthy, but you no longer find to be healthy or work for your body. So it's a little bit of a challenge having to kind of be this new person with a new lifestyle among people that know you for your whole life, and also among your own family. And to be honest, if you take all those people out of the equation and it's just you and you're figuring this all out and trying to map it all out, it's challenging all on its own, let alone trying to introduce other people to your lifestyle or explain what you're doing and why. Once you are sure of what you're doing and why, it might be easier, but I still think it's a challenge, especially when it comes to, for me, cooking, because I've always been used to cooking chicken and fish and let's say meat in my stews and things like that, and then having a side, having a salad, having vegetables, having greens, but omitting that whole category of animal products becomes challenging in the way that you'll have to look things up and figure out new ways to get the nutrients and things that you were getting from those products. Like, so on a plant-based diet, you'll need to get vitamin B12 and things like that that you don't necessarily get from plant-based foods. And just make sure that whatever diet you are going forward with, that the food that you eat and the calories that you eat are nutrient dense. So you want to get as many nutrients, as many phytochemicals, as many anti-inflammatory foods as you can. And keep in mind, you want a whole range of vitamins and minerals and amino acids and all those things in your diet in order to have optimal health. So optimal health is not just, you know, eating just one thing and yes, you're healthy, but just keep that in mind. You want to eat an array of things, just like they tell you to eat a rainbow of colors of vegetables. The same applies with making sure that you're getting balanced nutrition, along with watching, you know, what you eat and portion sizes and things like that. But when you adopt a plant-based diet, eating primarily fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, you kind of are free from that portion control and calorie control situation, because you could eat a pound of greens uncooked. A pound of greens uncooked is about 100 calories. Cooked, 200. Fruit and vegetables per pound, I believe, is 300 to 400. And then grains and things like that are, I think, 500 calories per pound. So the more nutrient dense, like let's say lettuce, for example, if you're an eater, a bulk eater, and you can't control how much you eat, sit there and eat a pound of lettuce. And so a pound of lettuce is going to expand your stomach and send your brain, or your brain will send your stomach signals, and they'll communicate that you're full because it had to stretch your stomach, but you've only eaten 100 calories. So keep that in mind, because you can go and get fast food, let's say, or something that we all know is not healthy. And that same amount, let's say pound of food, would be upwards of 1,200, 1,500 or more calories. And you've had the same kind of reaction in your stomach, but you could also eat more later, and you've already eaten over 1,000 calories in that one meal. So it kind of makes sense to add foods that are more nutrient dense, so that if you do get hungry later, you're not over on your calorie macros, or whatever people call them. I don't keep track of calories. I just kind of go with my body, and I don't eat those foods at this point. I do not eat fast food. I do not eat foods that are fried or laden with unnecessary calories that are not nutrient dense. So a bunch of oil deep fried is not going to benefit my body. It's not going to benefit how I feel, because generally after you eat something that's not good for you, you definitely don't feel that great. So you eat fast food, it's great in the moment, tastes good, there's no denying that, but afterwards you don't feel so great. You feel sluggish, your digestion just feels off, your body feels off. And you know, the negative side effects of eating those foods are very, very high. And you know, your skin looks worse. I mean, there's so many benefits to not eating it, that eating it is kind of, at this point, silly for me anyway, because even though it tastes good for that moment that it tastes good, I'm gonna be suffering with the excess pounds, the bad skin, the feeling sluggish for days to come after that initial meal. So one thing that I do find is I really enjoy certain things like overnight oatmeal. It's really easy. I do things very quickly. I can prep my meals for the week in about an hour to 2 hours, because it's just bulk ingredients. For example, lentils, boil them, simple, water, boil them, put them aside, drain them, put them in your fridge. You can get a thing of greens or salad, whatever kind of greens you want, that's in the fridge. Cut up some sweet potatoes, roast them in the oven. That's one of your starches for the week. Make some quinoa, make some bulk brown rice, have some beans. The overnight oatmeal recipe is very basic. So it's a half a cup of oats. Rolled oats is fine. And then you take 1 cup of non-dairy milk or whatever. If you prefer water, fine. I usually use a non-dairy milk, almond milk, whatever I have on hand. It's not specific, just make sure it's unsweetened. And then I add some chia seeds, some cinnamon, and whatever fruit I might have on hand cut up into it. Leave it in the fridge overnight. It's nice and soft in the morning and it's cold. I like my oatmeal cold. There are days that I do hot oatmeal, but spring is supposedly on its way. So I am enjoying the colder breakfast, but if I'm in the mood for a hot breakfast, sure, I could make that on the spot. You can do the same thing with quinoa. So instead of oats, you could use quinoa. You can cook quinoa and then add those ingredients that I just mentioned to that and change it to fit whatever works for you. So if you don't like cinnamon or you prefer pumpkin spice or any of those things, like think of flavors that you like, let's say apple pie, or whatever. Cut up some apples, throw that in there, throw some cinnamon in there. Try to take foods that you love the flavors of and then convert them to whole food versions of those foods and play with your food, play with your recipes. And some recipes might come out horrible, and believe me, they have. And some might come out amazing. And then there's certain stores, like you could get convenience foods in, let's say like Trader Joe's. You could get, there's soups that are, you know, that don't have any animal products in them. You could get already cut up vegetables. You could save a lot of time by buying those convenience foods. It'll just cost you a little bit more than you prepping them on your own. So now one thing that is so awesome is obviously the internet. So if you have an ingredient that you've never worked with before, but you're curious, literally just Google a recipe. Google a recipe, figure it out, start cooking, and I'm sure that through time, your taste buds might change. Your eyes might be opened, or your mind might be open to new flavors, and then all of a sudden, you're eating less and less animal products, you're eating less and less cheese and whatever doesn't benefit you. I suggest you guys watch What the Health, Forks Over Knives, Earthlings. There was a few more that I can't remember right now. Dr. Neil Barnard, I believe that's his name. Nutritionfacts.org is the website that he has. He posts things on YouTube and online pretty much every day about nutrition and the reason for the plant-based diet versus the animal products in your diet. Very interesting stuff, very eye-opening. Also, there's a book called The Cheese Trap that he also wrote. Highly recommend that you give that a go if you're a huge cheese lover and kind of want a reason not to eat it anymore. With all those things, believe me, you'll get there, because I did too. And I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel deprived, because if you do feel deprived at any point, or if you do feel that the diet's not working for you, you need to alter it so that you don't feel deprived, because you don't want to be living, let's say, Monday through Friday in this deprived state with your diet and then go nuts Saturday, Sunday with your food, or have cheat days or cheat weekends or things like that. I personally don't believe in cheat days or weekends or whatever. If you want to have something, have it, and let it just be that one thing or that meal, and don't continue it on for the whole day. That's just what I think. And if you're eating things that you enjoy eating throughout the week or throughout 7 days a week, you're not going to feel the need for the cheat day or the cheat week or the cheat meal. If you do need something, if you want a piece of, I don't know, whatever your thing is, then have it, but just know, get back on track the very next meal. And if you can find alternatives, healthier alternatives to the flavors that you like, even better. So I hope that that gives you kind of like a guideline of what what to do in situations. And obviously leave me comments, ask me questions. If there's anything that you want to ask specifically that I don't cover in these videos, please feel free to ask me. I'd be happy to talk to anybody and answer any questions. And I will see you guys Monday. I hope you have a great weekend, productive, and I hope you do things that you take care of yourself. Get some exercise, go outdoors, move more, eat healthy foods, feed your body, feed your soul positivity, say positive things about yourself and to yourself, and you'll just start feeling better naturally. All right, bye guys.